was a day as good as today, I never seen it, no. If there ever was a way as good as this way, I never dreamed it, no. It took a little bit of sweat and a little bit of guts, a fantasy of sorts, no ifs, ands, or buts, for all the ruts and the cuts and the I don't know what's. I got the world by the nuts. I got the world by the nuts. If there ever was a light as bright as this light, I never shone it, no. If there ever was a night as good as tonight, you'd wanna own it, yo. A little bit of sweat and a little bit of guts, a fantasy of sorts, no ifs, ands, or buts, for all the ruts and the cuts and the I don't know what's. We got the world by the nuts. We got the world by the nuts. Alright, now are we ready to kick this sucker off? I think we are. I'm gonna put my damn guitar down. I just don't want this to be anything like any other webinar you may have attended. I have a kind of disdain for boring-ass webinars with people yammering over PowerPoint slides with a bunch of bullet points about data. I like to mix it up a bit. So here we go. Let's get started. You with me? Just hit me in the box if you're with me. We ready? Balls to the wall. Yeah, baby. Heather Stimler in Paris. Right on, y'all. I love hearing from you. This is so great. Right on, Duncan. Thanks, man. So here we go. We know this, right? 2014 needs to be completely different. We talked last week about burning the candle at both ends and how it is not in any way any particular type of sustainable life strategy. So what do? Well, we rock out our guitar, for one, when we feel inspired. But what's our end game here? Well, our end game is we're pursuing a higher state of alignment I call full life integration. It's kind of like, I explain it like this, it's kind of like the 80s robot Voltron. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but all these 5 lines represent a separate talent or skill. I call these our non-negotiables. So the x-axis are your non-negotiables, your sacred life ingredients that cannot be removed or substituted. Last week we talked about soul practice. This week we're going to talk about the non-negotiable of vitality. But when you put all these things together, you create a force multiplier effect I call full life integration. This feels like mega alignment. This feels like a flow state. This is definitely, the sum is greater than all the individual pieces parts. And when you form Voltron, yes, you are able to whip alien ass at a whole other level. So here's what my model looks like. We talked a little bit about this last week. We started with soul at the bottom, and then we work our way around the wheel of non-negotiables. Week 2 is vitality. Week 3 is family and relationships. Then we get into art, and finally we take all of that into our work. So our work benefits from all of the non-negotiables that come before it. And then we have this differentiator called the lens. And the lens is that outside circle. This is what we spent some time crafting last week. If you got into the workbook, you could, oh my God, somebody actually just said release the unicorns, bitch. That has to be Mark Zmarley. I love you, Mark. Release the unicorns, bitch. That's the first time anybody's ever commented that. But anyway, I wanted to let you know the lens actually has this power of magnifying all of your non-negotiables. So you have all of your unique sacred life ingredients, you have your unique lens and virtues around it, and that's when the magic happens. That's when full life integration just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. So, much like last week, simple housekeeping, try to stay engaged with me here over this next hour. Our time is limited together. If you're already giving yourself the gift of showing up, try to show all the way up and pay attention. We're going to cover a lot of material. I tried to pack this with about 3 hours worth of content into 60 minutes. I'm going to try not to talk so damn fast the whole time, but I do want to get through it, and I want you to remember it. So here's our session 1 recap. We talked about our stillness ritual, 5 to 15 minutes a day. I'm going to ask you guys how that went in a second. We talked about upgrading our lens. And here's an idea for you too. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I would definitely recommend reciting your lens to yourself 3 to 5 times per day, ideally right after you meditate. It connects at a much deeper level. Once you clear all that static in meditation, you remind yourself who the hell you are and who you're trying to be. and you could definitely feel some upgrades and some shifts going on. I know it sounds awkward. I know it sounds painful and strange at the beginning, but I promise you, if you do these things, you will feel noticeable results inside your body. I did stick on my regimen this past week. I did meditate 60 minutes per day. And after the 60 minutes, I said my lens statement to myself 5 times. I serve God and others through my creative, inspired example. I remain humble in the miracle of my circumstances. I consciously pursue excellence, sobriety, and integration guide my destined outcomes. I have fun, and I cultivate the discipline on a daily basis to rock all of the above. See, I actually did memorize it. I do say it to myself. We talked about optimizing our environment for success. That means the physical space around you, creating sanctuaries in your life where you have a place to go to do your best work, places you could go to do your best meditating. All these sanctuaries really, really matter. And sometimes, like my homeboy Joe in Columbus, sometimes it's in your car, and that's cool too. I started my meditation journey in my car, and no, I didn't live it in at the time. And lastly, prepare to work. We have 5 weeks to cover a lot of stuff. I also hooked up a replay at thisepiclife.com/resources. Wanted to share this quick little testimonial with this one of my favorite people, Laura Neff. Look at how cute this little pixie is. Since bumping my practice to 20 minutes starting last Friday and being consistent about it every morning, I've actually noticed a clear difference in my mood overall, happier with a much longer fuse. That's what we all want, much longer fuse with everybody around us that we love, the people we work with, our clients, and most notably ourselves. Plus, my ability to respond calmly to unexpected issues that crop up throughout the day is definitely on the upswing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Laura. I will keep at it. The most important point. Here's something interesting. I would love for you to do this. It's really hard for me to share everybody's lens statements in the chat room and to repeat them back. We have about 95 people currently, and it's just going to keep filling up. So here's what I would love for you to do if you have a couple minutes to do so. I created a number that you could call on your cell phone, hit this extension, and you could actually, you'll hear my voice, and we could capture your lens statement. It would be so great to have all these in one place, and no, I'm not going to share them all over. It's more so just for me to be able to share some feedback on them tomorrow. So call this number, write it down, you'll hear my voice, and then let it rip. And I'd love to hear your first name, the city you're calling from, and your lens statement. Cool. And if you want to share, if you're comfortable sharing it, what I thought might be cool, like this is my integration mind working, is I think it'd be badass to chop some of them up and mash them up with some music and share that with you guys. So that'd be really powerful. I'd love for you to, and operators are standing by. I saw that in the comment box. All right, so here's the takeaway from last week. I didn't say this explicitly, but making time for what really matters begins with unplugging the clock. That's why we're all here today. We all have busy Januaries in full swing. I am no different. I guarantee you my workload looks like holy shit. However, I know that the time spent working on myself is the most important investment I can make all day, all week, all month long. So that's why I wanted to spend this time with you guys here today. This ties back to that concept last week around space and our mission. So we want to constantly leverage more time, meaning that we need to create it from within ourselves. That's why I got you meditating. That's why I want you to step away, at least for a few minutes a day, from this like crazy spastic chaos of clock time. All right, so let's talk about how we did. It's time to deploy a poll. Who's ready to deploy a poll? I want a poll. Let's hear how your stillness practice went. Who's 8 for 8? Don't be shy. Wow, 50% so far right out of the gate, 8 for 8. Wow, about 75% have practiced 5 to 7 times. I am so blown away. Wow, and a couple people actually answered, who needs stillness? I practice chaos. That's amazing. 6 tried it once. All right, I'm going to close out this poll here in 1 second. Make sure you vote. Did you go 8 for 8? That means every day out of the last few days since we talked, were you able to get it in every single day? This is what mine looks like so far. All right, let's close this out. Let's share your results. 6% Still practice chaos. You're going to have to go back. I'm going to make it mandatory. You got to go back and watch the replay from session 1. Chaos is not sustainable. Good luck with that. I wish you well. I bless you on. But it only leads to one place. Burst into flames. Okay, 8% tried to quiet your mind once. And, wow, I'm bad at math, but, basically about 80% of us, 84% of us have practiced more than 2 to 4 times, and 36% of us are 8 for 8. Very, very proud of you guys. Very proud of you guys. So here's what this looks like. On this tracking calendar, I don't know if you guys got the tracking calendar. Did you get it? You can hit me in the chat box if you still need it. It's on the resources page, and I also sent it out in one of the last emails. But I created this PDF to track us all the way through January so we could keep track of these things. You'll notice I have 2 checks on today. That's because I started stair-stepping in my vitality practice. I ran 3 miles on top of my meditation practice. I know this already seems like a lot, but I promise you we're going to get there. All right, so if you could do this for me, why don't you grade yourself in the workbook page of the assessment? If you had to give yourself a grade, give me your grade, and hit me in the questions box with how you would grade yourself. All right, Martin Pig, give me a C, B minus, right on. Robina, no worries on your D. You could raise that grade. A minus, Laura Neff. B plus, Joe Anderson. Okay, Heather Stimler, you can do 20 minutes a day, but your brain is all over the place. That's what I wanted to talk to you about first. First of all, just a little reminder from one of our co-presenters here, Karen Wright. She is my executive coach, good friend, total badass author of The Complete Executive. She shared this little bit of wisdom with me in my mastermind session one day. She said, all of the plans in the world suck out loud if you're not following them. So what I'm going to implore you to do is if this stuff interests you, if you're getting kind of fired up at the prospect of improving yourself or aligning yourself in a way to make all of your resolutions possible, this is a very real process we're doing here. And if you could just try to sit down and do the work, I promise you'll see the results. Another reminder here from our friend Chris Guillebeau, inspiration without action is entertainment. And entertainment is fine. I'm not knocking entertainment, but in his TEDx talk a few years back, Chris Guillebeau had this quote, it knocked me on my ass, is that, I've always been lucky to be able to inspire people. However, I've been doubling down on giving people action-oriented steps they could take to put all these things into practice. Oh, Laura N's quoting some Yoda. Love it. All right, so for you people that gave yourselves the D, all right, there is no failure here. And this is actually a line from a U2 song off of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. There is no failure here, sweetheart, only when you quit. So if you're trying to meditate and it's not working, the monkeys are kind of jumping in through the windows and taking over and pulling your attention all over the place, your job, the actual practice, I talked with Laura Neff about this last night, the actual practice is bringing your focus back. So if you're committing to 20 minutes, it's not about how much time you spend, out of Zen and in the weeds. It's that you sit for 20 minutes and keep bringing it back. I could tell you that in my practice, I'm doing 60 to 70 minutes a day at this point. When I do those stretches, my mind could wander as many as like 80 to 100 times. But it's the fact that I've sat that long and pulled it back. That's what cultivates the meta attention I was talking about last week. So don't be so hard on yourself. Showing up at all counts, okay? So maybe you should just go ahead and raise your grades just a tiny bit. Don't be so hard on yourself. And I came up with this quote last week in meditations that we pursue and achieve swan-like grace and swagger despite the occasional faceplant or facepalm. Some recent fails of mine, we're in the trust tree, right? My corporate headshots did not go too well. I ended up looking like I'm holding an invisible cat or something. Would you like to buy this invisible cat? I tried to walk up the stairs a few months back on my face, which didn't work out pretty well. I was carrying a couple lattes for my wife, slipped and fell and knocked my front tooth out. And very humbling and an amazing lesson in humility and getting my shit fixed. Obviously, I did pretty quickly. But